Hello, everyone. Let's get started. Please download Laboratory 23 from Blackboard. Today, we are going to learn hypothesis testing. Actually, in the last example of Lab 22, we have learned how to define some hypothesis and how to determine hypothesis is accepted or rejected, right? So today we can continue. We use another example to show how to do hypothesis testing. So first one, you please identify, run the first script to identify your host name, username, and current information. Input your name, our number, and the title and date. Here's today's example. Okay, this example is about like the ACLU of Northern California presented a report on jury selection model in this county. We want to know, we need to perform our analysis of the data given, examine whether they're truly and their representation of certain groups. So it means you want to check the different proportions of affinities, right? Define now and an alternative hypothesis. So model is good if random proportions close to jury panel proportions. This is null hypothesis. And next one, alternative is the model is not good. It's very far from the last one, right? So it's about the null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. I will show you the concrete details right here. And if you want to define them mathematically, for instance, here, you can write as this one. Now, hypothesis is some eligible proportions minus random proportions and divided by 2. It's roughly the same as sum eligible proportions and panel minus panel proportions divided by 2. It's about null hypothesis. And the alternative hypothesis is large different. So it means very far from here. It's very close. Close is roughly, right? And this one is very far from the second one. So for now, we know what is our hypothesis. The question is how to compute these two evaluations, right? The first, we can know there are 3 variables, right? Eligible proportions and random proportions. The random proportions is something randomly selected. So it means you need to design a simulation to get these random proportions, right? But for eligible proportions and panel proportions, they are all given because you need to like they are constant numbers, right? So we can learn them from some like a data frame, and this one is something you want to simulate. All right, so it's about how to precise the hypothesis testing. So let's continue. The first one, please import the necessary packages, NumPy, pandas, matplotlib, right? And the next one is about the model data for jury selection. And so here we use a dictionary to create this data frame. For instance, ethnicity, Asian, Black, Latino, white, and other, and eligible, the number, right? And then the panel is a number. So from here you can have the number from of eligible proportions and panel proportions. So next one, you need to get the random proportions based on your simulations, right? Let's run it and check the results. Raw data frame. You see here, it's very simple, right? So 5 rows, ethnicity, eligible, panel, Asian, Black, Latino, white, and other. The next one, you can, if you want to have a visualization on this data, you can draw a horizontal bar chart, right? Ethnicity and panel. So you see here, we didn't use the matplotlib, we just use a data frame from the pandas to draw this horizontal bar chart. And in this way, you don't need to set the colors. the colors have been set defaultly. Eligible is the blue one and the orange one for panel. Then you see some of them are much different, and some of them, for instance, here Latino, the panel proportion is smaller than eligible, and the black is much smaller than eligible, right? So, but we need to use the mathematical ways to show what is the result, right? So, because here the second one, you see, we need to get the eligible proportions minus panel proportions and the absolute value, so ABS value, right? So that's why here we need to append a new column. We call it EP difference. EP actually is the eligible and the EP difference. It's the ABS value between these two different portions, right? And after that, you print out the data frame again, show the result, and the last column is about the difference, right? So difference. And please make sure to use this ABS value, and ABS value is a built-in value in Python. So actually it's easy to, you don't need to import anything if you want to use the ABS function, right? Okay, so any questions so far, or do you have any errors when you run the cells? Okay, based on the data frame or the third, not the third, the fourth column of the data frame, you can compute the second one here, right? You need to use the sum, right? Sum and divided by 2. So for instance, I can do that again. So for instance, I want to show why we need to do this one. So because the second one, the definition here is we need to use the sum, eligible proportions minus panel proportions and divided by 2. So that's why here we want to get all numbers from the last column and get the sum value and divided by 2, right? It's observe the total variance, right? So the result would be 0.14, right? So next one, we need to, if we want to determine the hypothesis testing, we need to calculate the first one, right? And before we calculate the first one, we need to determine the random proportions. Random proportions is something you simulate, right? So that's why here we want to simulate. Here is the one sample, only one sample of the simulate. So we randomly picking one sample of size 1493, right? 1493, and calculate the total variance distance between the random proportions and the eligible proportions. So here groups, total number, and PLP, right? So it means if you want to use this is eligible proportions to get the random choice. Okay, so for instance, you can print out the random choice. Actually, because the groups are only Asian, Black, Latino, White, and other, right? And then total number would be this 1493, and the proportion. So here the proportion would be the eligible. Then it will follow the proportion to randomly choose the ethnicities, right? And get the random result. So for instance, I will comment out and show you. So you see, this is the result of random outcomes. So they are all elements from these groups, right? But follow the proportions. So that's why here is a randomly selected, right? And the next one, we want to get all the values, get all the numbers, count non-zero. The outcomes is Asian or Black and Latino, White and other. And after that, we use another array to to collect all the numbers, all these numbers, and divided by the total, divided by the sample size, and then get the sample proportion. Okay, so it is a result. The first one is Asian proportion, the second one Black and Latino, white, and then other. So it is about the proportions, sample proportions, right? Okay, so any questions so far? So for now, it's only one collection and one sample about this randomly choice. Okay, and the next one we can, so here we can append this new column into this data frame. Okay, so we have the fifth column, right? So random sample panel. So it's related to this panel, but not different, right? It's different because here, because in this way we use a random, we use this proportion to select. So that's why here this one is very, very similar with eligible column, right? So, and after that, we can do the horizontal bar chart again, different. So here, in this one, eligible and the random panels, they are very, very similar, right? Because it's generated from eligible proportions. And after that, we can do it again. So let me show you. Because here, we have already calculated this one, right? And then we want to calculate this one. So that's why here, sorry. Oh. That's why here we need to do it again, calculate the ABS value again, right? But this one is eligible and random sample panel. This one is just a panel, right? So from this one, we want to calculate the first evaluation. So that's why we have this one, right? And it's the ER difference. ER means eligible and random panel difference. And do it again. So sample total variance, it's very small, right? It's very small, and your result could be different from mine because it's like randomly choiced. So the result would be a little bit different. But here is only one sample, so you cannot say it's only one. It's because it's only one sample, so it's not very convincing, right? So we need to do the simulations for like 10,000 times. So next one we want to do is so yeah. So for now, any questions? All right. And next one, we want to do it for 10,000 times. So the key point is we set a variable name repetitions, once 10,000, and a new list. And here for this one, for the content in the loop is the same as this one, right? So actually, if you check this one, it's the same. It's because this one is only one sample, and we want to do it for 10,000 times. That's why we have this one, right? So we can do the loop for 10,000 times, and after that we can calculate this again and append it to this list, and after that we get the outcomes, right? And actually we can print out the outcomes. Print out. Actually, it's this array has 10,000 elements. You need to wait maybe 10 seconds. Yeah, so you see here, it's very long, right? And yeah, so for now you have already known, you have done the simulations for 10,000 times. Any questions so far? Okay, so next one is about exercise. You need to finish it by yourself. Okay, so you need to finish the rest of the analysis with plotting histograms, observations, and calculating p-values, and have your conclusion. So the first one, you need to plot a distribution of the test statistics, which is total variance distance, because for instance, here is outcomes. You need to use the histogram to show the distribution of outcomes. So I will give you the answer. So this is the answer to show the distribution. Okay. So it is the plotting the histograms. And next one, you need to plot these histograms and the observation. This one, observation. You need to plot these two together. And if you don't know how to do that, you can check the last several cells of lab 22. So the first one you see here, we also create a normal distribution and show the histograms. And the second one is we show the histograms, but we use another scatter plot to show the observation dot in this figure, right? So I will give you a hint here. So actually you can do it again. You can copy. For the second one, you need to copy this one to show these histograms of the sample, and you need to use a plot scatter and then observation. So you need to use this one. All right. Actually, you need to use this one. And something you need to, if you don't know how to do that, you can check here, check this example. All right. It's about the second one, and then the third one is about how to compute the p-value. So p-value to make a conclusion. So the p-value is based on this one, right? You need to define, and you need to check the result is the same or not. And if you forget, you can check from here. P-value is how to do that, and please make sure to divide it by the repetitions and get the value. And from this value, you need to have your own conclusion. Need to be hypothesis need to be rejected or not. So answer is below, based on the p-value. And yeah, so actually we show you example in lab 22. So if you don't know how to do that, you can check the codes and the solutions of lab 22. All right. And yeah, today please run all the cells and finish the exercise. Exercise means three cells of codes and 1 cell of your answer. Okay, so the first code cell, you need to plot the histograms of the distribution. And next one, you need to plot the distribution and a scatter plot. And next one is not the same thing, but it's similar. It's similar. You need to understand why you need to do that, because the hypothesis is different, right? So here's the hypothesis. The hypothesis in lab 22 is this one, and the hypothesis of lab 23 is this one. So it's different, but it's very similar, right? So this one, you need to compute the p-value and then answer. Next one is not a code, it's a markdown. You can write something to be rejected or not. All right, so yeah, that's today's class. And yeah, if you don't have any other questions, please feel free to leave a meeting and have your lunch. Thank you, guys, and see you next week.